Do you want to be an Abbasid Dynasty pro player, swarm the map with town centers, villagers and units and never make any mistakes? Then watch this build order and learn. So if you're ready to take in Abbasid Dynasty's strategies, who I think are a top 4 civilization right now as of the end of February 2022, let's jump into it. Let's start with the basic build order and a number of deviations depending on which civilization you're against and what they're going to be doing. We're going to be starting our test build very soon. I just want to go through everything with you, what you would want to be doing against different civilizations. Against French, the expectation is that they're going to night rush you into Archer. Therefore, you're going to get the fastest possible barracks. You're going to make 4 spears, 2 in 2 critical locations, and then you'll make a stable. You won't use it immediately, but you want to have access to it. You're going to keep scouting. If they are harassing you with knights only, not into archers, you don't have to make many or any horsemen. But if you see a quick archer follow-up, you can make some horsemen and that'll be your army for a while. Your goal is still to go for a second town center, because French will eventually have enough villagers to outstrip your economy because they produce villagers faster. You were not looking at a 5, 6 or 7 minute early second town center. We want to be safe first, but we'll eventually try to make one. And we'll take it from there. Our goal would be to keep scouting and make exactly as much army as appropriate in feudal, and then make it to Castle Age only when it's safe. Holy Roman Empire, typically their game plan is to go for relics. So you would go for 2 stables and a range and put heavy pressure. Try to harass their exposed gold mine villagers and take down their ability to castle quite as quickly. By not making a second town center immediately, you're able to disrupt their gold before they have the required 600. You can also go for a second town center first, while still focusing on the same army composition of horsemen and camel archers, but then you won't be able to stop them from fast castling. Your goal then would be is to kill them briefly after they reach castle. They'll be busy using a few horses, 1 or 2 knights, or 4 or 2 spearmen to try and escort prelates to bring back relics, and you will try to kill as many prelates as you can, swarm all over them, and while you're harassing, you have double villager production non-stop, and you'll try to make it to your own castle as well. If you can deny relics enough, you'll even pick them up and deny them to him forever. Against English, the expectation is longbowman rush. You would be going for 4 horsemen, and then if you need to, and he's serious about aggression, 2 or even 3 or even 4 ranges of full archers. Archers slightly lose to longbows, but the superior Abbasid Dynasty economy with the Golden Age 10% gathering rate and your quick wheelbarrow tech, as I'll be showing you soon, should still give you a good amount of archers, a larger ball than his eventually. If he's more passive, if you see that he's already deviating into farms, he's gathering gold as early as 8 or 9 minutes already, then you know that it's going to be less aggressive and you can go to castle faster yourself. You can also go for the second TC round. Abbasid Dynasty is pretty flexible. Then against Mongols, you want to tech to feudal as fast as you can, scout their Ovu, see if it's going to be Dark Age aggression plus Tower Rush, heavily allocate into wood after you go into the feudal age, sparing no expense to get as much wood as possible. You would make spears if he's rushing with horses early, you would go archers if he's rushing with spears. And because you don't need to have a blacksmith or siege engineering upgrade to make rams, you would make rams to clean up towers. In Abbasid Dynasty Mirror, you can match the amount of town centers that they are making or have even one more. Villager production is so cheap for them with fresh foodstuffs that you're able to have so much villager production and still make it to castle as early as 12 minutes. I've seen a build where you go triple town center with no units and you're still starting to click up to castle at 10 minutes. That's crazy greedy, but it just goes to show how little food you need for those villager productions as Abbasid. They're pretty cool and pretty strong. You would then go for men-at-arms and mangonels, or maybe crossbows knights. Spears are also great. It's really about countering what your opponent has while having some basic units. Against Delhi, we're going for full map control style. The goal here is to deny sanctity, sacred site capture as long as possible. so no expense will be spared to be as strong as we can be on the map. A combination of horsemen and Kama archers is a great army. Not only are they very fast, but they also beat everything. Horsemen beat archers, Kama archers beat spears, and horsemen... and then the only thing he can make is horseman. Well, horseman Kama archer beats horseman because you have that fear aura on his horseman. You can also get faster upgrades potentially. Really the key is to never let him get a single tick of gold from those sacred sites. Full army, delay it longer and longer, while keeping in mind that even if he eventually gets it, instead of getting it at 8 minutes, he may get it at 13 minutes if you delay him enough. That is already a much smaller percentage of available villager resource income than it would be if he gets it at 8 minutes. So don't think of it as he either gets it or he doesn't, and I eventually let him get it and that's bad. No, every minute of delay counts. Against Chinese, you're trying to hit a castle age timing. You're stronger in castle, they're stronger in imperial, so if you're both making lots of economy, you want to hit earlier, because you have more food availability with cheaper villagers, you should be able to do so. Of course, there may be Chinese versus Abbasid one base games, both one town center. I have yet to see it. It's pretty uncommon. That's why it's the least important. Okay, now that you've seen all the options, let's start with the basic build order. Alright guys, you've heard my strategy for every different matchup for Abbasid Dynasty. I'm starting up a test game here with Abbasid against French. I'm immediately going to make one new villager and then another scout. My 6 first villagers are going to go build a mill immediately. After a lot of testing, turns out that starting with a mill and the Abbasid Dynasty bonus berry gathering is a faster way to do things to age up than to actually harvest sheep. And especially against French, it's going to be extremely useful for you to be able to save your sheep for later if your berry patches get threatened. Scouts as usual are going to be looking for sheep, and we're going to have 7 villagers on berries. You can kind of spread them out on different berry patches so that proximity berries go for a longer time, kind of like this. And then the next 3 villagers are going to be going towards gold, which is here apparently. The reason we're going for 2 scouts is the same as always. I swear by it. We want information. It's not just about gathering as many sheep as we can to deny them to a French or really any opponent, or to create food for a rainy day if we ever get harassed on our berries and we are forced to pull back against longbows or knights. It's also to station scouts in strategic locations in order to deny them, in order to give us more reaction time and deny knights from picking off any villagers at all. It starts to get really nitty-gritty if you start losing villagers to knights, and you really don't want to be in that position. As we are planning to momentarily stay on a singular town center, we don't want to lose any villagers because the French are already making villagers faster, and either way it just sucks. Okay, after we've got the House of Wisdom started, with those 3 villagers being allocated towards gold, we've collected some sheep all over the map. We are going to be harvesting from one of the triplets, one of the 3 trees that starts around the town center, that is closest to the wood line that you envision your lumber camp to be going towards. Every villager will go there. You can put your House of Wisdom on a control group. I usually put it on 8, 9 and 0, some of which will later be replaced. Why do I put them on 3? If I fat finger, I'll always still hit it. Okay, now we're looking to get enough resources for an age up. This should generally be at 245. You can age up at 230 if you actually skip the second scout. But like I said, I think it's very important to make that second scout. It has a lot of utility. As you can see, 245 is when you age up. That's pretty consistent. Now I like to take 2 villagers from food, drop off the food, go to the wood line. Scouts will take strategic locations to see anything we may be able to find out from our opponent. Make sure to keep utilizing the golden age link up. See that all the color is pink, not white. Pink good, white bad, okay? Pink good, white bad. We are going to be continuing to gather gold with 4 villagers as soon as we can. Try to get information on our opponent. Our first priority is going to be fresh foodstuffs, and you have to respect those priorities. 4 on gold. Then we are also going to consider making wheelbarrow upgrade. We eventually want spearman, hardened spearman upgrade. That's not pink. Okay, salmon. Thanks, chat. Salmon, good. Okay, salmon. Salmon, good. Oh. Chat's such a fine eye for the finer things. Luckily, I've got them to help me with this build order. Let's make a house, and then when we can, we make a barracks. In fact, I think it's better to make the barracks first. Barracks first, then house. Okay, we should be okay. Now, normally you'd be gathering information now about the speed of his tech. French feudal finishes anywhere from 4 minutes to 5 minutes. It really depends how they play it, how many villagers they put it on it, and so on and so forth. We make the house now, and we can start gathering a few on food again. We start fresh foodstuffs. Once we have the required amount of gold, start a spearman. We can make wheelbarrow upgrade as well, which is now. Get wheelbarrow. Now we're also expecting knights to be coming in, so every new villager is actually going to go to ship. We can put a few more on food again so that we can make spears and villagers. So now normally you'd be pulling back your scouts, you put them in the stealth forest in front of your base. You can put spears on exposed locations. Momentarily we have to stop gathering gold. We want to make a stables. We want to get spearman upgrade. We've got 2 spears now. We are simulating that the first knights are going to be coming in. That means we bring back our berry villagers and we go back to the sheep. We're also thinking about Golden Age eventually. We've got 2 spears. Oh, that's not a spear. We've got 2 spears. Woodline is the most likely to be harassed. Now we want more spears. We want to have another house as well. And ideally we want to eventually also get to a second town center. But we can't be rushing this. We're now going to count knights. First knight is in our base. Is there a second knight coming? Yes or no? These are important questions. Is there a second knight coming? Yes or no? We'll probably make a wall in the back here so he can't walk the back of your base. Now once we feel like we have enough spears to kind of keep him at bay, we can put the spears on the stone. Have a couple of spears back here. And then we can start to gather stone. Okay, we have Golden Age now, which is nice. Now if we're seeing that he's going for archers, we're going to start making some horsemen. If we see he has 3 knights or more, we need more spears. We want about 6 spears per... 2 spears per knight at least. These 3 spears, they can hold 1 or 2 knights at bay. But more than that, it starts getting problematic. Okay, so horseman for archers. You don't have to finish the horseman if he doesn't go for archers. You want to finish it if he is making archers. We're now thinking about going for a second town center. And pretty much the build will leave you from that point onwards. Like right now there's a lot of adaptation. We're trying to get that full stone required for a second TC. That second TC is going to be the source of our next supply. I think we should make it on the gold so that we can safely gather gold. Horsemen also have utility to harass and chase down knights that are low after a brush with your spears. We have enough, we pull them, we make our town center here, safely on the gold. This will allow us to have 10 villagers on gold. Now, say for instance, you see that he's going 5 scouts. And he's picking up deer carcasses. What you're gonna do is you're gonna leave just maybe about 6 villagers on wood. Put everything on food. Secure the food. Secure the second town center building. And then you're gonna think about what army you want at feudal. Generally against French, you're gonna want 2 stables. Or 3 with knights. Okay. We're gonna go everything on food and gold. Second town center finished. We're now looking to get to Castle Age, and if we can click up by 10 minutes, that's just fine. And you should be able to. With the sheep that we have. You can also put your second TC on the deer, but it is a more exposed location. I want you to be aware of the risk that that carries. All the villagers now on food, and then we should be able to click up by about 10 minutes if we don't make too many more units. All throughout this, you're checking 1 archery range, 2 range, 3 range. 2 range means a lot of aggression. 1 archery range could be a fake out. 3 ranges is all in. 3 range and blacksmith is super all in. If they're going super all in, you probably can't hightail it to castle. That would just be risky. It's probably better to solve it with the double town center you have and an overflood of units. You would be stepping on the gas, lots of horses. It's gonna be great. Knights beat horses, but not as crazily as they beat archers, and horsemen really beat archers well. You would then also go 3 barracks and spears and make sure that he has to micro in order to take you down. Okay, so this is looking like a good economy mix. Some wood still in order to be able to, you know, make some kind of infrastructure. And then as you can see, pretty much like clockwork, like I predicted, at about the 10-minute mark, we can click on Age Up. And this is a super basic opening you can do in many matchups. Now, you'll note that this isn't the fastest possible town center. But that's really become kind of overrated, to do the fastest possible TC. I made mine at 7+. If you make it at 5:30, you will have 5 villagers more, right? But how many will you lose because you had no capacity to make any units at all? If you lose 5, you're already more behind than with this one. So don't value the speed of the TC as much, value the safety of the TC. Now we keep getting gold, so we can make knights. Every 35 seconds we need 100 gold. With 3, we'll need 200 gold per stable and 600 gold per minute. 10 villagers gathers 400 gold per minute. So 10 villagers is not even enough to make non-stop knights. It's almost enough. But we also have a bit of a bank. Some of that bank will go into upgrades. Some of that bank will be a surplus to build knights. So 10 villagers on gold is good to support this amount of stables. Then we can start thinking, okay, how do knights get countered? Well, crossbows and spears. How are we going to counter those? Well, probably with mangonels, to be honest. We can, of course, counter crossbows with horsemen or with archers, but it can be hard to kill them quickly enough. Spearmen get countered by archers or men-at-arms. This is also possible, but spearmen kill villagers so fast that it can be hard to use your knights at all. So probably we're going to go triple barracks. We're going to make our own spearmen, and those spearmen are going to build mangonels. And that will be the way to solve that. We start diversifying our food sources as usual. Always try to make an outpost in each location in order to be safe. Now we step on the gas with knights. And then we are going to put all our villagers on wood so that we can start making mangonels. Very nice spending of our resources, everything as required. And we get this upgrade. Once this finishes, we can get all the level 1 economy upgrades. Typically the rule is that you want an economy upgrade when you have about 15 villagers on that resource. That's when it starts to be worth it. And the little caveat that I would write, if that upgrade is not blocking something more important right now. Alright, that's pretty much the standard opener against French. I'll show a few more variations for different matchups, but basically the opener I showed is applicable in many different ones. Hope you enjoyed it, and good luck with Abbasid Dynasty. And don't delete your own town center. Okay guys, I showed you the defense against the French. Against English, you would do horsemen with a stable instead of a barracks. There's small little deviations in various matchups. The key, as always, is using that double scout opener to scout what your opponent is doing, understanding the first most logical thing that any civilization would want to be doing, Holy Roman Relics, English longbow rush, and then trying to recognize patterns that deviate from that. And have fun with it. Winning, losing is okay. Losing and winning is a learning opportunity, and winning is an opportunity to gather some elos, and never give those points away. Either way, just have fun with the game and use these builds as a guide, and you don't need to stick to them too stringently. My hope is that you learn how to craft your own build orders after seeing how I craft mine, and that you can learn more about the mechanics of this wonderful game in this manner. Now I want to show you Chinese versus Abbasid, the boom. I want to give you a plan for developing your economy, still going to castle quickly, and then using it in order to try and finish them off before their boom pays off too much. If you're ready for it, let's jump into it. Alright, at the start as usual, immediately produce a villager, then a scout. The map here is Mountain Pass. What you want to do is you immediately want to be sending your scout to the center of the map. Your next villager will go to food, and some will go to some berries and some will go to the other. On Mountain Pass, the sheep are always in the center, in the passage between you and your opponent. Especially the major pass. If there are multiple passes and you click to the other side of the map, you may not be taking the pass that is considered the main pass, and you won't get as many sheep. I think that's what happened to me on this map generation, but it's okay. This is a map specific opener, and it doesn't, you don't have to necessarily, like every map has a different scouting pattern, I should say. So you'll have a different experience everywhere. The purpose of this build is to generally show Abbasid Dynasty against Chinese. Ah, there we go. This is the main opening. Okay, we found the sheep. So, alright, this is considered the main opening, and this is a sub opening. Okay, double scout, one on your half, one on their half, and try to avoid following their footsteps so that you can get as many sheep as possible. Sheep will not be useful immediately, as you'll be berry gathering, but they're going to be useful after you've got 2 or 3 town centers to supplement additional food without having to go too far. The expectation that we're playing into here is that the Abbasid Dynasty and Chinese are 2 civs that like to make an economic boom. This means they like to get bonus villagers and then use that for a later greater power spike. Not everyone plays like that anymore. We've got plenty of players that play differently and that try to do a one-base style, and so can you. I merely show the standard expectation and how that may look like, and you need to be prepared for anything. If you see a Chinese player that is Imperial supervising their stables, then you know that they're going to spam horsemen at you, and you can't just blindly make a town center and expect that to go okay. Okay, just like in the other build order that I showed you against French, you're going to have 3 on gold, 7 on food, and then go for the small lumber camp, while having an early house and a house of wisdom. You'll be able to click up at 245. But this time our goal is to get as fast as possible extra stone to make a town center. Okay, this is nice. Now we're gonna pull 4 or 3 villagers, let's say 3 villagers from berries. Send them to wood. Your next villager is going to stone. I'm not going to be collecting any more sheep because I already have 15 and it's unrealistic to have more than that. Do with your scouts whatever you normally would do. It matters not. Okay, we're going to go for a lumber camp and we're going to go for stone. The gold that we're getting is for fresh foodstuffs and it is for wheelbarrow. Once we have 50 wood, we can make a mining camp here as well. It is understood here that we scout the opponent and we see that he's not spearman rushing us, he's not tower rushing us, and so forth. We'll be looking to get fresh foodstuffs into wheelbarrow, not the other way around. You can do wheelbarrow into fresh foodstuffs, which is also a popular build that I won't be showing in this build order. It's pretty neat. Right after you attack, you put a 4th villager on gold. And you'll be able to get wheelbarrow and still be on time for a standard timing fresh foodstuffs upgrade. This is a great solid economic foundation to any build. Aggressive, defensive, economic. I won't be showing it here because I'll be going fresh foodstuffs into wheelbarrow, which is almost just as good. Fresh foodstuffs is the slightly more important upgrade. We get it immediately when we age up. We can get wheelbarrow very shortly after that, about a minute. We can start it at 5:30. Meanwhile, we're getting enough wood and stone in order to go for a second town center. We're checking things out. We're seeing, okay, what's your landmark? What is your unit ratio? We could, in theory, make a stables now and not use it. We could make an archery range now and not use it. These are all great possibilities that will slightly delay your town center. I think it's totally valid to do so. I will, by the way, put one more villager on food. I think it's totally valid to put one building down before you make your second town center. Like I said, it's going to delay your TC by a few dozen seconds the most, but you now have the option to be aggressive or defensive as required. Okay, we have enough gold for wheelbarrow. We shall be getting it. Wheelbarrow upgrade has been started at 5:35. Fresh foodstuffs is of course finished. Our villagers are now really cheap. And we have enough. Okay, now assuming that we see, hey, he's getting 300 stone. He's making his own second town center. Then we are going to place our town center very greedily. The greediest, most effective thing you can do is to place it among deer, to take pockets of 2 villagers and to shoot down each deer as you make it, so that they're nice and close to the TC. Okay, we have started our second TC. Now let's say that we see he did go for a second town center and he's going Song Dynasty. Excuse me? You what? Song Dynasty as well? That's greedy. We're gonna want to counter that with our own. We're gonna want to counter that with our own third town center, so that we can get even more villager production. Keep in mind that double town center Song Dynasty is worth 3 villagers per rotation, as is 3 town centers. But we will be spending 75 food per rotation because of fresh foodstuffs, and he will be spending 150 food. Eventually, that should lead us to be able to tech faster into Castle Age than him. And it's that exactly that we will be trying to use in order to get ahead in this game. Okay, we are once again gathering stone and wood in order to make another town center. After we start the third TC at 900 stone of this stone outcropping, we're gonna fully allocate back into wood, into food and gold, so that we can make it to castle. We're very close to it. We don't get any other economy upgrades yet. If you'll remember, it becomes worth it once you've got 15 villages on a given resource. Gold on tier 1 has been activated. Now we make this TC go here on the deer. This TC goes here on the deer. This one goes on the sheep. We take 5 villages away from wood. We put them on the sheep. Or on the berries, what have you. Anything goes. Third TC is coming. It's finishing at a nice time. And now our goal once again is to age up at the 10-minute mark while continually scouting. Now, if we see that he's going double stable horseman after 2 TC, we are going to go double barrack spears. If he's going double archery ranged Shogunoo, we are going to go double stable horseman or even triple. And if it's horseman, if it's spear rush from him, we'll react accordingly as well. So we're going to have a response to everything that could potentially happen. All of our new villagers are now going on food. We keep these 12 on gold, and then we start thinking about the counter. We start thinking about Castle Age once again. Now, assuming we could be fighting for walls here. I want to wall this, he wants to wall this and whatnot. He wants to like throw up wooden walls, stone walls. That's all good. The more walls he makes, the weaker his army will be. So we'll try to break through that with rams. Right? If we see that he's doing wooden wall into stone wall, And our scout shows he has many town centers. We've got two options. Either we immediately go to the late game. I put a marketplace here. I start trading with the trading post here. I let him wall and I just go a 4th TC, a 5th TC, traders, 20 traders, and then I go to Culverin, Bombard, Mangonel, Trebuchet, and I go like elite camel archers and whatnot. But if it's different and if there's not so much walls, we can prepare for a men-at-arms Mangonel rush. You can see that, we, like I said, at 9:50 we can go tech up, which is really interesting because in a double town center opener I showed against French, we were able to tech up at 10 minutes, which was even slower. It's because we have a better economy now with the more villagers and we didn't make any units. Big difference, right? Okay, we're aging up and now we have options. We can go barracks so that we can make Spearman and Mangonel. That's an army that will beat almost anything. We're gonna make a blacksmith, not strictly speaking required, but it can be useful. We can also go men-at-arms with armor upgrade. We can go for military academy upgrade so that we can make stuff quicker. We need less on food now and more on wood. We're aging up with the culture wing once again. We're gonna prepare houses, a marketplace in case we get in trouble. We can have even more on wood. We get our spearman upgrade, start making some spears, so we can immediately start making mangoes. Many spears as we can. Some houses. You'll be surprised to see how quickly you fill up that population with 3 TC and 4 barracks, so don't skimp on houses whatsoever. You want to pretty much be making them every 5 or 10 seconds if you get to this point. Okay, spearmans have been produced. Marhaban, Amruk. We reach Castle Age. Immediately start preservation of knowledge. Now if you went for blacksmith, you can already start an upgrade before the preservation finishes if you feel like it will help your timing. If not, I like to have double blacksmith by the time this finishes. I'll start 2 upgrades at the same time. Now that we are expected to apply pressure, we can also decide to start diversifying our food income a bit, even though we still have a decent amount of sheep. It's just kind of trying to do macro before micro. Now we're gonna make this upgrade and start some men-at-arms. That means we'll have enough wood left over to start mangonels. Or if he's walled up, rams. Upgrade is continuing nicely. Now you look at how much allocation of resources you have on everything. Over 15, not over 15. So which economy upgrades are we getting? The ones that are over 15. We finished this upgrade. Broad axis, forestry, horticulture. Of course, horticulture doesn't affect deer. You could get survival techniques as well, it's pretty cheap. If you wanna. Usually I don't think survival techniques is worth it. Okay, now we do have a bit of a bank. We haven't spent it all. I haven't been stepping on the button, but feel free to keep upgrading your unit production capacity. Springolds, mangonels, and then the goal would be to attack with that. And then you adapt. It's always powerful to keep getting a lot of wood, because wood is your ability to be flexible. No wood, no flexible. Just press QW, QW, make a bunch of each. It's a fine army. Then you attack. It's pretty crazy to be at over 100 food by 13 minutes with 3 TC. Upgrades coming along, economy upgrades finishing. And keep making houses. Our golden age right now is at golden age 1. We only need 1 more structure, so we're gonna be golden age 2. Things are going well. If you feel like you have the space for it, mosque, always good to get those relics. And now you've seen Abbasid, boom. Alright, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and good luck on the ladder. Let me know how it goes.